Have you ever met someone in your life who, the moment they speak or act, makes you feel deep inside? There's no point in talking to this person. Or you just know, I'll never be able to explain anything to them. I'm sure you have. Sometimes these people are in our own families. Sometimes they work with us. And sometimes it only takes a 5-minute conversation to feel the emptiness inside them. But how can you truly recognize when someone is genuinely foolish? And why is it so important to identify them? If you watch this video till the end, you'll get answers to all these questions. You'll also learn how to deal with such people the smart way. So, if you're ready to understand what real foolishness looks like, let's begin. And if you'd like to support my channel by subscribing, I'd truly appreciate it. Thank you in advance. If I asked you to define foolishness, what would your answer be? Let's start right there. Take a look around. We encounter people every day. Some speak with anger. Some are always trying to prove they're right. And some explode at the slightest criticism. Observing them raises a question. What controls their actions, their thoughts, or their emotions? According to the Stoics, foolishness is not just ignorance. True foolishness is the condition of someone who lives without understanding themselves, someone enslaved by their emotions and desires. This kind of person cannot properly observe what's happening around them, nor can they reflect on their own feelings. Instead of calmly and wisely responding to events, they react impulsively and often in harmful ways. The foolish person acts more than they think. Their emotions dictate their actions. If someone hurts them, even unintentionally, they immediately start planning revenge. If someone left them in the past, they begin to hold a grudge against all people. They never look inward to find fault. They always blame others. Their philosophy of life is simple. I'm not the problem. Everyone else is. Seneca compared such people to a boat drifting in the sea with no sail and no rudder. Wherever the wind blows, that's where they go. They're carried by anger, jealousy, fear, and emotion without realizing it. In contrast, the wise person may not stop the wind, but they know how to hold the rudder and stay on course. Epictetus said, "We cannot control what others do, but we can control our own thoughts." The foolish person doesn't understand this difference. To them, the world is either an enemy or a stage for their praise. You either flatter them or they attack you with criticism. This way of thinking is simple, but it's dangerous. Because a person like this is always on defense, always rushing, always under someone else's influence. Stoic philosophy, however, leads us somewhere else entirely. It teaches us that real wisdom lies in patience, observation, self-awareness, and composed responses. According to this philosophy, a wise person observes in silence, filters their thoughts, and only then speaks. They respond to foolishness not with anger, but with calm, without losing their inner balance. In short, foolishness is living without thinking. Wisdom is reflecting on your experiences, managing your emotions, and not blindly obeying your impulses. Foolish people often believe they're incredibly smart. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The wise man sees his own faults. The fool sees only the faults of others." These words hold a deep life lesson. The most dangerous trait of a fool is that they never admit they're foolish. They consider themselves intelligent, very intelligent, in fact. So much so that they don't feel the need to listen to anyone. Every argument is a battle to win, not a chance to learn. If someone always thinks they're right, refuses criticism, wants to teach everyone else, but never questions themselves, there's a deep darkness inside that person. That darkness comes from not knowing themselves, from being deceived by their ego, and from never listening to the silence within. Epictetus described such people as those with closed ears but open mouths. They love to talk, but they can't listen. They interrupt others mid-sentence. Why? Because listening is the first step toward accepting, and the foolish person fears acceptance, because to accept means to face the need to change. Whereas for a truly wise person, every idea is a mirror. They try to see themselves in that mirror. They question themselves. They seek their own mistakes, because they know that growth begins with acknowledgement. Humility to them is not a weakness but a sign of deep knowledge. You've probably heard this saying before: the greatest sign of ignorance is believing you are wise. The one who looks down on everyone and thinks everyone else is wrong is actually trying to hide the emptiness within themselves by belittling others. In the minds of such people, the world is divided into two parts: themselves and those who must submit to them. But the Stoics teach us that true strength lies in the ability to listen, to change oneself, and most importantly, to admit what you do not know. Seneca said, "The more a person learns, the better they understand how little they actually know." A foolish person can never reach this level, because they already believe they know everything and have closed the door to learning. Let me tell you one of the most common traits of foolish people: they talk too much and always have an opinion about everything. Talk to them about politics, they'll instantly offer a viewpoint. Mention psychology, they'll immediately pass judgment. Even if you quote a book, they'll either argue or try to overshadow the topic with their own experiences. Stoic philosophers saw this behavior as one of the clearest signs of foolishness. To them, the constant need to talk is simply the sound of emptiness. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are not obliged to speak, remain silent." For excessive talking is a form of self-exposure. Why do foolish people talk so much? The answer is simple: they become uneasy in silence. Because in silence, one begins to hear their inner voice. Their inner voids, shortcomings, and fears start to surface. Since they don't want to hear that voice, they talk endlessly. They try to prove themselves. They never ask questions because asking reveals ignorance, and they see that as a weakness. But according to the Stoics, a wise person observes, listens, and speaks only when necessary. Seneca said, "Silence is the weapon of the wise." Speaking is the act of someone who knows how to remain silent. In other words, the words of a wise person serve a purpose. They are not spoken aimlessly, not meant to insult but to be of benefit. A foolish person, however, wants to emerge as the winner in every discussion. Yes, silence is always an answer, but only the wise can give that answer, because they understand that every word reveals the inner world. Every sentence either brings wisdom or exposes the emptiness hiding within. Let me tell you another trait of foolish people: they can't be happy for someone else's success. If a person feels uncomfortable seeing someone else happy, growing, or succeeding, this isn't just jealousy. It's a reflection of inner foolishness. According to Stoic philosophers, jealousy is the discomfort felt by a person who is not at peace within themselves when they witness another's happiness. If you envy someone's wealth, success, beauty, or social status, it means you are attached to your ego, your desires, and your fears. You are not free. You are a prisoner of your emotions. A foolish person sees another's success as their own failure, as if someone else's rise means their fall, as if success in the world is a limited resource. If one person gains it, someone else must lose it. But this is a flawed way of thinking. Someone else's happiness is not the reason for your misery. A wise person understands that success means different things to different people. For some, success is inner peace. For others, it's a healthy family. And for others still, it may be a simple yet meaningful life. Therefore, looking at someone else's path and questioning your own is something only weak people do. Another sign of foolishness is being quick to anger and emotionally explosive. Never forget this. A foolish person is ruled by their emotions. Their anger is a reflex. It comes before thought. They get angry, they shout. They turn away and then comfort themselves by saying, "I'm just a very emotional person." But Stoic philosophy offers a different path. Being emotional is not weakness. Being ruled by emotions is. A wise person can also get angry, but they don't drown in the emotion. Their response is calm, measured, and thoughtful. They observe their feelings, analyze them, and then respond. The foolish person, on the other hand, reacts without thinking. If a person gets offended easily, immediately becomes defensive when criticized, changes their decisions based on others' opinions. This shows that they lack strong inner foundations. Now let me tell you something else interesting about fools. Foolish people can repeat the same mistake over and over again. It's clear that when a wise person falls, they think before getting back up. Why did I fall? Where did I go wrong? What should I do differently? These questions lead them to growth. They try to learn from their mistakes. But a foolish person, they fall, get up, and walk the same path without changing a thing. They know they were wrong in a relationship, yet they continue trusting the same type of people. They waste money in the wrong place, but repeat the mistake the next day with the hope that this time will be different. Everyone around them warns them, but they don't listen. Because a foolish person doesn't try to change themselves. They try to change the world instead. The Stoics called this state an unexamined life. It means becoming a person who never reflects, never learns, and keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. Seneca said, "To live is not just to breathe, but to know yourself, question your behavior, and evolve." You probably know people like this. Those who fall into the same trap repeatedly. Those who suffer in the same kind of relationship, but never ask why. Those who make the same financial mistakes, yet never change their plan. If you do, know that this is the quietest but most dangerous form of foolishness. And whoever displays these traits, that's who the fool is. Another clear sign of foolishness is refusing to listen to advice. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can prove you're wrong and they are right, do not be upset. Be grateful." But for a foolish person, that's impossible because they don't understand, or don't want to understand, the difference between criticism and advice. You give them sincere guidance and they immediately become defensive. So you think you're better than me? Are you perfect that you can advise me? For these kinds of people, every opinion is an attack and every suggestion is an insult. Because in their world, there's only one truth. I am always right. The Stoics, however, thought the exact opposite. To them, advice was like a mirror, a tool that shows you the sides of yourself you don't want to see, but need to. Seneca put it best. The most useful words often hurt at first, but if they carry truth, they can heal. A wise person, when hearing advice, reflects, what path is this pointing me toward? Why is this particular point being emphasized? How can I grow from this perspective? A foolish person, on the other hand, reacts with, I don't think that's true. You don't understand me. I don't listen to anyone. I do what I want. This is a mindset where ego wins and reason loses. And the only one who truly loses in this situation is that person themselves. Because sometimes a single piece of advice can prevent a lifetime of regret. But if there's no ear willing to hear it, it just vanishes into thin air. So we come to an important conclusion. Foolishness is also the refusal to listen. Wisdom, on the other hand, is the ability to find truth even in the most painful words. In Stoic philosophy, there's a key idea. The way a person responds to life and its challenges reveals their inner strength or lack thereof. And one of the clearest signs of inner weakness is blaming others. Yes, the ignorant person's first instinct is always to blame someone else. Because in a fool's world, nothing is ever their fault. If they got fired, it's because the boss was unfair. If their relationship ended, it was the other person's fault. If they can't make progress in life, it's because society is unjust. The Stoics used to say, no matter what happens, your reaction is your responsibility. Yes, life can sometimes feel unfair. Yes, sometimes people will treat you unjustly. But how you respond, what you feel, what you think, and what you choose to do is entirely up to you. A foolish person always looks for an excuse. A wise person looks for a solution. Blaming others is just another way of escaping responsibility. It's as if someone says, if the problem isn't mine, then I'm not responsible for fixing anything. But this is one of the biggest traps that blocks personal growth. Because if you tie everything in your life to what others do, you've handed over the steering wheel of your life. And a person without a steering wheel, no matter how fast they move, will eventually crash. Marcus Aurelius warned, you waste your time on things you cannot control. But your true power lies in changing what happens within you. So instead of focusing on what others do, focus on what you do. Only then will you take a step away from foolishness and move closer to wisdom. One of the most unpleasant traits of foolish people is their constant blame of others. To them, every failure in life is someone else's fault. The world is unfair, people are cruel, the system is broken, and they are always the victim. But this mindset is nothing more than a protective shield built to avoid responsibility. Such a person never asks themselves, maybe the problem is me. Maybe I made a mistake. On the contrary, they are always searching for someone to blame. A wise person tries to see their own faults. A truly enlightened person blames no one, because they understand that much of life is outside of their control. Stoic thinking teaches us this vital truth. If you're constantly blaming others, you are surrendering your own power. It's as if you're saying, my life doesn't belong to me, it's just the result of other people's choices. This kind of thinking leads a person into internal slavery. You may believe you're free, but if your decisions, emotions, and even your future are in someone else's hands, you are not free. Taking responsibility may seem frightening. It means questioning yourself. It means facing your own mistakes. But that's exactly where growth begins. To the Stoics, responsibility was not just a burden, it was the key to freedom. Because the moment you say, this is my responsibility, you also say, I have the power to change, to improve, and to rise above. If someone constantly plays the victim, avoids accountability, and refuses to take charge of their life, their path leads into darkness. Up to this point, we've talked about the traits of foolish people. So now when you encounter such behaviors, you'll likely recognize them for what they are. But a more important question remains. How should we deal with fools? Let's begin by accepting one truth. Foolish people will always exist. You cannot escape them. They will show up in your family, in your workplace, and in society at large. Stoic philosophy reminds us of a simple yet profound truth. You cannot change the world, but you can change your attitude, your reaction, and your perspective. The Stoics said, do not be angry at those who are wrong. They simply do not know what is right. And if you know what is right, it is your duty to lead by example. What does this mean in practice? For example, a foolish person might try to provoke you. They might try to anger you. Sometimes they may even attempt to humiliate you. But as long as you remain centered, your strength will remain unshaken. According to the Stoics, someone else's behavior should never define your values. You must stay loyal to your principles, your patience, and your self-control, because the greatest power is the power to control yourself. So how should we specifically deal with such people? 1. Be patient. You don't have to react to everything. Sometimes remaining silent is the strongest response you can give. 2. Observe. Don't judge. It's not your job to change people. But learning from them, that's an opportunity for you. 3. Walk away quietly. If someone drains your energy during interactions, don't try to fix them. Just walk away calmly. That's a sign of self-respect and a reflection of your inner strength. Yes, you may be wise, but not every wise person participates in every discussion. You may be right, but not every righteous person runs after proof. You may know the truth, but not everyone who knows the truth tries to change others. Sometimes the deepest wisdom is in staying silent, protecting yourself, preserving your inner balance, and refusing to descend to the level of a foolish person. Never forget, foolishness is not a lack of education. It is a lack of the habit of thinking. That's why, regardless of someone's level of education, you should always observe the people around you. Watch how they speak, how they behave, how they react. Learn to recognize foolishness deeply, and don't try to enlighten fools. Just stay on your path, like the Stoics.